I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me. Yeah, wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I've got a shout out coming up at the end of the video, so please stay tuned for that. It's hard to believe it is the final day already in the month of April. Tomorrow is May the 1st. This year is absolutely flying by. I know they say the older you get, the faster and the quicker the days go by, and I certainly believe that. Today, I'm going to be doing a quick preview of the NBA playoffs round number 2 and talk a little about the NFL draft, only because I was asked about it yesterday at work. So I will mention again what I said at work yesterday. But first, in case you have not been following the NBA playoffs, round number 2 is getting set to begin. The Phoenix Suns are going to be going up against the Dallas Mavericks, and the Golden State Warriors will be facing off against the Memphis Grizzlies as they finally finished off their series against the T-Wolves last night. I know I said before the playoffs started that I thought the Suns would beat the Pelicans in 5 games, and it actually went 6 games, so the Pelicans actually won one more game than I thought they would. And don't be surprised to see the Utah Jazz just blow everything up. I'm not saying they're going to trade everybody, but they had a really good regular season in the 2020 season, and then when the playoffs came around, they just did nothing. And this year, they were just pretty much a 4, 5, 6 seed the whole year. They have talent, but for whatever reason, they're just not playing like a great team on the court. So don't be surprised to see the Jazz make a lot of changes in the offseason. Over in the Eastern Conference, we have the Heat and the 76ers and the Bucks and the Celtics. I was afraid for the 76ers because anybody that follows Doc Rivers knows that he has blown more Game 7s than any coach in NBA history. And they were up 3-0 and lost Game 4 and lost Game 5. So when Game 6 came around, I thought, man, if Philly blows Game 6, they're going to lose Game 7. But they won Game 6 by 35 points. So they made sure there was going to be no Game 7. But now they're saying there is no timetable for Joel Embiid's return when they play the Heat. So hopefully, for their sake, he won't miss more than 1 or 2 games. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to beat the Heat. And I got to thinking that for some reason, people are surprised the Nets looked bad and got swept. And I don't know why. They were the 7 seed. And they were the 7 seed for a reason. They suck. So when you're a 7 seed and you suck, why are people surprised when you get swept? If you were supposed to be good, you wouldn't be a 7 seed. If you were any good, you wouldn't be a 7 seed. The only scorer they have is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant cannot do it by himself. Andre Drummond scores 6 points a game, maybe with 20 rebounds. So he's a great defensive player, great rebounder, but he does nothing for you as far as scoring. And Kyrie Irving only plays about 2 games a year. Kyrie Irving does everything he can to not play the game of basketball, just like Ben Simmons and just like Zion Williamson. Ben Simmons quit on LSU. He quit on the 76ers and he quit on the Nets. So if the Nets do try to trade him or release him, if I was any team in the league, I would not want Ben Simmons on my team. And then we have LeBron, who is absolutely 100% chasing rings. I read a comment this past Tuesday where he said that it was time for him to follow his heart and go where his heart wants. He needs to go to Brooklyn and play with Durant. First of all, they would be no better than what the Lakers are. And second of all, if that's not chasing rings, I don't know what is. He goes to Cleveland and he runs off all the young players to bring in a bunch of veterans, and they suck. So he leaves. He goes to the Lakers. He runs off all the young players to bring in veteran players, and they suck. And now he wants to leave. So if he went to Brooklyn, he would do the same doggone thing because people think since he's LeBron, they got to do what he says. So when he wants to trade, they do it for him, even though he's proven time and time again that what he wants is not good for his team. People still do it anyway to make him shut up, but LeBron never shuts up anyway. And then we have, in my personal opinion, Kevin Durant and James Harden are they're winding down. I don't know how many more years they're going to play, but it's clear they're past their prime, just like Russell Westbrook, just like LeBron. And Kyrie might as well be past his prime because his prime is I'm not going to play. So my question is, if you're an NBA fan, who do you think is the face of the NBA as far as in 4 or 5 more years when all those players are gone? In my personal opinion, it's going to be Giannis and maybe Stephen Curry if he is still around. I would say Ja Morant, but until the Grizzlies actually start winning something, it's not going to be him. And I would say Trae Young because Trae Young is a great player, but if the Hawks don't build around him, they're pretty much going to be a playoff team every year that gets put out in the first round, maybe second round. And in order to be the face of any sport, you have to, if not win a championship, at least compete for a championship. And I don't see the Hawks getting anywhere close in the next 4 or 5 years. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. So in my opinion, it will be Giannis. He will be the face of the NBA, and Stephen Curry as long as he plays. But Curry is a lot older than what Giannis is because I think it's clear that LeBron and Durant and all those guys, their careers are winding down. They might play for a few more years, but they're definitely not the players they were 3 or 4 years ago. And a couple quick thoughts on the NFL draft, only because, like I said, I was asked about it at work. I know I mentioned this back during college football recruiting, that I'm not a big college football recruiting guy. I follow Clemson because they're my team, but I know people that wake up on that Wednesday morning at the crack of dawn and they watch that stuff till the sun goes down. I'm not one of those people. I think it's useless. I care nothing for it, only because how many times do you see high school players that are 4 and 5 star players and they get to your team and they're average at best? On the opposite side, how many times do you see kids that come out of high school and they only get 1 or 2 offers because of the fact they're a 1 star or 2 star, and then they get in college, find the right fit, find the right coach, and they're 4 and 5 stars. So I'm not going to waste my time about these players just because of how they're recruited and where they're recruited. I'll wait till I see you on the field and then make my determination based on what I see and not what you did in your high school. But I do watch more of the college football recruiting than I do the NFL draft, only because college football National Signing Day is early February when there is absolutely nothing else going on sports-wise except for the NBA early first half of the regular season. But come NFL draft time, you've got the NBA playoffs, NASCAR's going on, NHL's going on, Major League Baseball's going on. There's just too much going on for me to sit down and watch NFL draft for a whole doggone weekend. I'm just not going to do it. And I also treat it the same way I do college football National Signing Day. How many times do you see kids come out of college and they go to your team and you think, man, that's going to make my team so much better, and the player is nothing like what they were in college? Or how many times do you see your team draft a player and you're like, man, we wasted a draft pick on that. And then by year 3, you're thinking, man, that was a great draft pick. I just like to wait until I see them play on the field. I don't really care where they get drafted at. So I'm not a big fan of the NFL draft. I like sports and not sports centric stuff. I like to focus on the on the field stuff and on the court stuff, not the off the field, off the court stuff. That's just my opinion, but I will say a couple of quick thoughts about it. I would not have taken Walker, number one. Not to say that I would have taken Hutchinson, number one, because I may not have, but just comparing their stats from college, they're not even close. I was looking at some stats from Mario Williams and Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, 3 players that pretty much play the same position Walker does, and all 3 of them had 3 times better stats than what he did. Most of those 3 had triple the tackles he had and triple the sacks that he had. And a lot of people try to say that Hutchinson disappeared in the playoff game, which is not true. But if you want to believe that, that's fine. But even if you want to believe that, Walker had 2 tackles and Hutchinson had 4. So if Aiden had more tackles, but yet he disappeared, then what did Walker do? So I wouldn't have taken Walker, number one. I'm not sure who I would have taken, but it wouldn't have been him. But we also got to remember that the Jaguars GM used to be the 49ers GM, and they fired him because he sucks. So we should not be surprised that he's making some dumb draft picks. And I'll also say that I think out of all the wide receivers the Falcons could have taken, they took the worst one. I think the best receiver is Chris Olave, but I would have picked Jahan Dotson over what the Falcons got, but maybe he'll end up being great. I just don't see it. And then lastly, I'll say, I know I mentioned this back in January, but I would not have taken Jordan Davis if I was the Eagles. And I know I mentioned that after 3 straight plays, he looks like a 400-pound pregnant water buffalo. But if you follow the college football recruiting in the NFL draft, you know that this past week, Booger McFarland broke down how many plays Jordan Davis just quit and how many plays that the team they were playing, the offensive lineman didn't even try to block him. He pretty much just took his hands off because Jordan Davis was making no attempt to even move because he was so out of shape, he couldn't do anything. So there's no way I would have taken somebody that high when they're really only going to be good for about 13 plays a game. Now, for those 13 plays a game, he's phenomenal. He's great. He's excellent. But do you really want to waste a top 15 draft pick for a player that's really only going to be good for 1, maybe 2 plays a series? I wouldn't have. That's just me. Any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What did the plumber say to the singer? Nice pipes. And my shout out today goes out to my man Wesley, who lives in the upstate of South Carolina. He is a huge, huge wrestling fan. Wesley, thank you so much for subscribing. Tell your friends, tell your family, give the video a thumbs up, and maybe he'll come to an SWA show in the future so I can meet him face to face. Again, thank you so much for subscribing, and you're going to like this week because we're going to be talking about wrestling at least once, if not twice, next week. That wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.